Coming up on this week's show, Aboriginal rugby from Australia.
Two battle-hardened foes will contest the 71st Currie Cup final.
We meet up with a man who'll be in the middle of that battle next week.
We also bring you the highs and lows of the Heineken Cup.
And join up with Tahiti and Vanuatu at the Oceania Sevens.
Total Rugby recently met up with Australia's Indigenous under-16 team as they prepared to take part in the National Championships in Sydney. Formed by the first Aboriginal player to be capped by the Wallabies, the Lloyd McDermott programme, which includes the under-16s, provides sporting and educational opportunities to young Indigenous people across Australia. Former Wallabies coach Bob Dwyer has worked with some of the greatest names in the game and is convinced these players have a huge role to play in Australian rugby.
People don't realise, but there's been Indigenous players playing for Australia in rugby for a long time. And what excites me about their participation is just how good they are at it, how well suited to the game they are. It seems to me that they have great balance and great vision and great composure.
For many of these youngsters, a trip to Sydney can be a rare occurrence, but it's another opportunity to bring about positive change in young Aboriginal men. Whilst tournaments such as the National Championships offer the chance for a possible future as a professional rugby player, the youngsters of the Indigenous side are always aware of the history and culture of their ancestors. The do-war chant that the boys perform reminds them of their traditions and, along with the jersey, gives them a collective identity.
It's good doing the chant. Like, I haven't done anything like this before. And like, once you do it, you just like, it feels different. Everything just goes blank and you just like think of like what your like family and stuff went through, like any ancestors and that.
It's a different opportunity, like to play with all your brothers in one team. Like, just probably representing like where you come from and all that, and just come together as one and play. Heaps of like Indigenous blokes playing for them, like Kirtley Beale and all of that. Like, it'll be good to at least put your name like up there, playing for the Australian Wallabies.
Ahead of the tournament, the team watched personal messages from a number of current Wallabies who had themselves been playing at this same event just a few years ago. The Under-16 Championship has acted as an important stepping stone in developing potential Wallabies, and these youngsters will be hoping to follow in the footsteps of the great Ella brothers and current Australia internationals Matt Hodgson, Kirtley Beale and the Fainga twins. But more can and is being done to increase the participation of Aboriginal youngsters in the 15-man game. In this season alone, 4 players with Indigenous heritage have represented their country.
Hot ball, hot ball. Hot.
I think there's some understanding out there. At times it can be just the general stuff, you know, that whole Aboriginal, Indigenous people, didgeridoos, singing and dancing and all the rest. But I suppose there's, like we said earlier, there's a lot more deep tradition that stems back for thousands of years. And I suppose the big thing for us is try and engage with our young people when we're in these teams to try and bring out that strength and bring out that history and that strong tradition, and try to go forward and make the young people feel a sense of pride and spirit.
Offering some words of wisdom to the boys was Matt Hodgson, one of the most recent Aboriginal players to represent Australia, and himself a graduate of the Lloyd McDermott programme.
Make sure you do win that game tomorrow. Best of luck for tomorrow, boys. It was definitely great to have someone like Lloyd McDermott Foundation sort of to have a gateway to get recognised and have a different pathway from schools and club where from remote areas you don't have the opportunities like being based in Sydney or Queensland and stuff like that. As I remember going out in a few remote communities in Western Australia and see a skill base there that you don't see elsewhere, and to tap into that would be a great resource.
Throughout the tournament, the youngsters impressed with their pace and agility, winning 2 matches and losing 1. The experience gained by all those taking part proved an invaluable introduction to competitive rugby at this level, and for some of them, it'll be their first steps towards fulfilling their potential. And a proud Lloyd McDermott was on hand to give the boys some encouraging words after the matches.
Well, first of all, congratulations. You played well. Because you're getting better all the time.
If the recent past is any guide, one or more of these youngsters will be pulling on the green and gold of Australia in the not-too-distant future.
In the penultimate round of the ITM Cup, Wellington welcomed Taranaki to the Westpac Stadium. And the hosts were in the same form that last week saw them hand North Harbour a drubbing. Winger Alapati Leua opened the scoring before fullback Apua Stewart crossed for their second try. Taranaki did get a lifeline from winger Justin Hayward, but that only inspired the home side, and a converted Albie Mathewson try extended their lead to 17-8. Wellington scrum half turned fly half Piri Wipu kicked a penalty soon after the break, but unfortunately his match would end prematurely, the All Black breaking his leg soon after, ruling him out of their November tour. Wipu's absence, though, didn't hinder the home side's attacking prowess. 4 further tries, rounded off by this one from Charlie Ngatai, completed the rout. Final score, 49-15.
The semi-finals of the 2010 Currie Cup were played last weekend, with the defending champions, the Blue Bulls, taking on the Sharks in Durban. But proceedings were delayed by 45 minutes due to a swarm of bees making themselves at home on the halfway line. But once the ground staff had cleared the pitch, it was the Sharks who were stung into action. Keegan Daniel scoring the opening try with less than 3 minutes on the clock. With baby Bok Patrick Lamy adding the conversion and a penalty, the Sharks went into the break 10-6 to the good. 2 more penalties from Lamy ensured the Bulls were always playing catch-up, but Morney Stain added this penalty to make it 16-12 with just under 20 minutes left to play. The Bulls pushed for the decisive score, but the Sharks held firm. The Bulls' defence of their title had ended. Sharks 16, Bulls 12. In the final, the Sharks will meet Western Province, who comfortably saw off the challenge of the Free State Cheetahs. The first points of the contest didn't come until midway through the first half, but when Brian Habana went over to open the scoring, Province rarely looked in trouble. "13-0 up at the break, that lead was extended soon after the restart. After a Willem de Waal penalty, flanker Francois Lowe finished off an expansive move for Province. A third try came from Gio Applin with just over 10 minutes left to play. The winger benefiting from a neat chip and offload from Habana. The last time Western Province appeared in a Currie Cup final was in 2001, and their opponents then, the Sharks of Natal. On that occasion, Province ran out winners. 9 years on, will history be set to repeat itself in Durban?
Taking charge of the Currie Cup final next week will be Craig Joubert. The 32-year-old former corporate banker is one of the IRB's 20 elite panel referees, but keeping pace with the speed of the modern game is becoming ever more demanding.
I think the game's changed enormously in the last 12 months. The game's got a lot quicker. The players that I've spoken to have said to me that they've had to raise their fitness levels because the game's so quick now. And so I guess it follows that as referees, we've also had to raise our fitness levels.
And as with the players, a large part of his week is spent in the gym. But if you think some referees still look a little portly around their chests, don't blame the diet.
The IRB have provided us with a very fancy GPS system, which has been a really valuable training tool for us to use. And basically what it is, it's just a little a cell phone-like device, or cell phone-sized device that slips into a little pocket in our undervest. And it just tracks how far we're running during a game, how fast we're running during a game, what your heart rate's going to, your body load, so how tough physically the game is for you. And why it's been so valuable for us is that you've really been able to structure your training according to match day situations.
The new law interpretations have without doubt helped to speed up the game, and the top referees have had to adapt their training programs to keep up with the play. But that's surely a small price to pay for having the best seat in the house at the world's biggest games.
The Super 14 final in Soweto this year between the Bulls and the Stormers was just a really, really quick game of rugby. And I probably thought at the end of that game, wow, it can't get quicker. And then a few weeks later, I refereed a Bledisloe Cup Test match between Australia and New Zealand in Melbourne. And it just took off. And it was without doubt the quickest Test match that I've ever refereed. It was, I guess the best players in either country's Super 14 in one team playing each other. And it was an incredibly fast game of rugby. So I'm in the program here that is the software for this GPS system, and I've plugged it in and downloaded the information onto the program. And just as an example, this was the Six Nations game I did this year between Ireland and Wales at Croke Park. And on this screen over here, which is basically just a summary screen, you can see there that I've run about 9,000 meters in this game. But importantly, you can actually see the speed at which I run it as well. Maximum speed of 8 meters per second, and average speed of only a meter per second. And on this summary screen as well, you can see the heart rate maxed out at 191 beats per minute, and averaged 148 beats per minute. And then you can drill down even further and get more information. For example, if I go to this speed screen, I can actually see that I've got 6 various speed zones. And I can see in which zone I did the majority of my running. So the majority of my running between 1 and 2 meters per second, but 3% and 5% and 20% in zones 3, 4, and 5. And I can do a similar thing for the heart rate. The important thing about fitness is that physically when you start to get tired, mentally you start to make poor decisions, and that's one thing that is so evident and so true in refereeing. And so from a physical perspective, I guess we want to put ourselves in a situation that physically our bodies aren't breaking down in that 80 minutes. And so mentally, we're the best that we can be. And, I think that's why we place such a high emphasis on maintaining fitness and really making sure that we train hard, so that when you walk away after Saturday, you know that at the end of the game, physically, your body's good and your mind is as strong as it possibly can be in what is a pretty stressful and pressurized environment.
Before they become Super Rugby stars, they get broken in here. The ITM Cup, New Zealand's elite provincial rugby competition. Playing now, every game exclusive to Fox Sports.
The Mitsubishi demonstrator clearance is on at your local dealer from this Thursday to Saturday. For 3 days only, get huge savings across all Mitsubishi demonstrator models, like Tough Triton, stylish Lancer, adventurous Pajero, and versatile Outlander. Plus the balance of Australia's best new car warranty, the Mitsubishi Diamond Advantage. Limited stock available, so hurry into your local Mitsubishi dealer during the 3-day demonstrator clearance this Thursday to Saturday.
You can now apply for shares in QR National. Not only is it the world's largest rail transporter of coal from mine to port for export markets, it also transports a diverse range of minerals, freight, grain and more across Australia. As an individual investor, you can apply now for shares at a discount. Download an offer document at qrnshareoffer.com.au. Be part of something big. Authorised by the Queensland Government, Brisbane.
As we get older, it's nice to have things the way we like them. When everything is in place, life just seems to run more smoothly. That's why Insurance Line created their Easy Funeral Plan. One quick call to 138898 lets you put everything in place to help cover the cost of your funeral, so your family won't be financially burdened after you're gone. And when it's needed, the money is there for your loved ones. That's why claims are paid fast, generally within 24 hours. And in the last 12 months, over $20 million was paid out to families just like yours. The Insurance Line Funeral Plan is #1 in Australia, and they're part of the Tower Group, so you know you're in safe hands. Start a funeral plan today from just $3.41 a week and feel good knowing everything is in place just the way you like it. Call 138898 or visit insuranceline.com.au today.
138898. Welcome to Insurance Line. Insurance Line.
From start to finish, end to end, top to bottom. This summer, sport never stops. Celebrate a season of live and exclusive action on 9 all-sport channels. Non-stop sport, all summer long, on Foxtel and Austar.
Toulon made a dream start against two-time champions Munster in round 2 of the Heineken Cup, when former Springbok number 8 Joe van Niekerk set up hooker Jean-Pierre Genevois to crash over after only 57 seconds at Thomond Park. But that was to prove the sole highlight of the French side's first half as Munster clicked into gear. Dennis Leamy and Tony Buckley got the try count ticking over before former All Black Doug Howlett squeezed in for a 21-10 advantage at the break. And the home side's dominance continued in the second half, with 3 further tries, including this brilliant second from Howlett. 45-18, the final score.
Saracens welcomed Irish province Leinster to Wembley Stadium in Pool 2. And the 48,000 spectators didn't have to wait too long for the first score, when Alex Goode put the Londoners ahead. The evening, though, belonged to another young fly-half, Leinster's Jonathan Sexton. In a virtuoso display, he scored all of his side's points, 6 penalties, and this converted try, earning his team a hard-fought 25-23 victory.
Champions Toulouse were looking to underline their Heineken Cup pedigree when they travelled to the Newport Gwent Dragons. Kicks from David Strella and Florian Fritz gave the visitors an 18-12 advantage at the break before French international Thierry Dusautoir was awarded their first try after some deliberation with the television match official. The Dragons were aiming to bounce back after losing in Glasgow last week, but things didn't get any easier. Maxime Medard slicing through the Welsh defence after some deft work by Vincent Clerc. Dragons' Will Harris crossed for a consolation try, but Toulouse had the final say 6 minutes from time, with Louis Picamol powering his way over for the third try of the evening. Toulouse remain the team to beat.
Our continuing journey into Rugby World Cup history takes us back to this week in 1999. Wales were the host nation for the fourth tournament, but their hopes of a home triumph were ended in the quarter-finals by a George Gregan-inspired Australia. New Zealand faced Scotland at a wet and windy Murrayfield. Jonah Lomu scored a record 8 tries in the World Cup that year, and this one ended the Scots challenge and mercifully ensured that their garish change kit would never be seen again. France were in scintillating form against Argentina in Dublin. Philippe Bernat-Salles starting and finishing this brilliant attack. The French fans would be treated to more champagne rugby in their semi-final against New Zealand a week later. But perhaps the most memorable quarter-final took place in Paris between South Africa and England. The Springbok fly-half that day was Yanni de Beer, and he struck an incredible 5 second-half drop goals to end England's hopes.
At the end of the game, you think, is it 3, is it 5? How many did he kick? You know, he couldn't remember how many he put over. It was the most surreal sort of second half I've ever been involved with.
It must have been demoralising for them to actually be there and see that you're not doing anything wrong, but points get scored against you.
South Africa went on to face Australia in a dramatic semi-final that was settled by another famous drop goal. Next week's trip down memory lane takes us back to 1991.
The annual Oceania Sevens took place earlier this month in Australia's most northern city of Darwin. The hosts, alongside Samoa, were favourites to claim the title over the 2-day event. But our focus is on the exploits of 2 of the smaller rugby nations taking part, Vanuatu and Tahiti, with both hoping to qualify for next year's Adelaide, Wellington and Hong Kong legs of the HSBC World 7 Series.
We use these tournaments to compare ourselves with other teams and see how we match up with our peers, and thereby see where we should focus our work and what sort of training we need to put in place. It's also important because we can make contact with managers from other teams, work with them and exchange information. They help us in our development of rugby here.
I hope Tahitian rugby will advance with the tournaments we're participating in. The Oceanias have really helped develop Tahitian rugby, and I hope that will continue because currently, with the Sevens tournament that's going on in Tahiti, the standard of play is constantly rising. The standard has really soared since the Tahiti Nui Sevens has been played in Tahiti in the last couple of years.
And Tahiti faced Nui in their opening fixture, but their campaign didn't get off to the best of starts. 21-0 down at the break. Nui continued to dominate in the second half, touching down 3 more times for a comprehensive win. Vanuatu, on the other hand, took a surprise lead in their first match against the Cook Islands. But their opponents stepped up their game with 3 converted tries of their own before the Tuskers, as they're nicknamed, made the score a little more respectable with a last-minute touchdown.
This team, when I get these boys in here, all I want them to know is to feel proud of themselves. I want them to know that they have this value, this potential that they can play rugby. In spite of the size, they can do it if they have a strong mentality. And I want them to have that.
First round matches complete, it was on to the evening session, and while the Vanuatu team endured the dreaded ice bath, Tahiti prepared for the #1 seeds, World Series champions Samoa. One player in particular lit up the night. IRB Sevens Player of the Year, Michele Pessamino, showed why he's nicknamed Lightning, as Samoa swept past the Tahitians for an easy 51-0 win. Meanwhile, hosts Australia, who included IRB under-20 star Liam Gill, whom we met in Argentina earlier this year, brushed aside Vanuatu 57-0. Papua New Guinea, the surprise package of the 2009 tournament, made short work of Tahiti in the last group match. While Vanuatu head coach Joseph could only look on as the Tongans racked up half a century of points against his balls, it had been a baptism of fire for both sides at the end of day one. The following morning at Tahiti's hotel, the players relaxed ahead of what would be another challenging day on the pitch. And though they'd yet to register a single point in the group stages, their unbroken spirit kept them believing.
This is how it always is. It's the Tahitian spirit. In Tahiti, whether we lose or get a draw, we're always upbeat and happy.
We try to learn from it all. We analyse the videos and work out what we need to improve on. In a tournament like this, our goal in terms of results is to see how we rank relative to a team like Vanuatu, which is more at our level, and which will let us see if we've progressed. Last year we finished behind Vanuatu. This year our goal will be to see whether we've been successful in our work and we can finish above them.
And Tahiti were handed the perfect chance to do just that when they faced Vanuatu in a repeat of last year's battle for 7th place. But it was Vanuatu who started the brighter, opening the scoring after only 2 minutes through Andrew Kalpukai. Order was restored through Tahiti's Yannick Gooding, who touched down twice before the break for a 14-7 lead. And 7th place was assured for the Tahitians in the final minutes. Aitatia Lenoir wrapping up the victory. It was an achievement that sparked emotional scenes in the dressing room.
My dream for Tahiti is to have children playing rugby in every single school, to have a good number of club players, and one day, why not, go and challenge Tonga or Samoa with the belief that maybe it'll be us who wins this time.
The final was fought out between the two heavyweights in the tournament, Australia and Samoa, and the hosts didn't disappoint. Player of the tournament, Luke Morahan, put the home side 12-5 up at the break, and they never looked back, running in a further 4 tries in the second half to clinch their first ever Oceania Sevens title.
On next week's show, we meet up with one of England's greatest props, Phil Vickery. Join us then.
Has been a huge year in